What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Drivers Edition, and today the Facebook chats and Corvette forums are on fire. I was tagged into multiple posts about this letter that GM sent out. Yes, I received my letter almost 2 months ago, and I had to take a look at it and shake my head, but let's dive into this conversation. Service the vehicle or your warranty is going to get voided. Let's talk about it. Okay, first of all, let's get through the formalities. My name is Sho. This is ICNV Drivers Edition. Welcome to the channel. This is the channel designed for those people who are true car enthusiasts and like to drive cars that turn heads, but yet not your normal everyday people movers. And because of that, we are an interactive community, which means if you reach out to me on any one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I will do my best to respond. And if the topic you bring up is interesting enough, I may shoot a video on it, just like this one. So GM sent out a letter about servicing the transmission on cars. Now, this was already a hot topic because many people have fears about getting their warranty voided and having to deal with a pricey transmission repair, or the fact just the transmission may possibly go out on a CA Corvette. Now, the funny thing about this is most of this is just fear, although there's a lot of reality with it. Meaning, if you look at the actual statistics in those situations, GM has produced over 180,000 Corvettes. Yes, 180,000 Corvette C8s. And from the information I could track down earlier this year, less than 5,000 cars have had transmission problems. So when you look at that number compared to that number, that's actually a small toss or bucket in a pot. Whatever reference you want to use, it's really a small amount. But that doesn't mean for those people that have actually had a transmission issue, this wasn't a nightmare for them. So I can understand why people are trying to avoid this situation and not have that nightmare become a situation or issue for themselves exactly. Now, we've had so many conversations before about actually servicing the transmission. And what I mean by that is the actual mileage or timeline you should service the transmission. I've come out personally and said beforehand, if you service the car anywhere between 6,500 miles and up to say 8,500 miles, you should be good. Well, GM just released a letter that says 7,000 to 8,000, which has had a lot of people on buzz because they are now afraid that their warranty is going to get voided if they don't turn back around and get the car serviced at some point within that timeline. Well, I will say this to you. I'm going to talk to you about my own opinion and about some information that was shared with me, which helped me come to my opinion by several engineers of the Corvette team. So if we get really in depth with this topic, most people who are having this fear or this concern right now are people that have had their transmission serviced after 2 years. And I say that again, after 2 years and still haven't reached the 7,000 mile mark. Or people that have had their car serviced before 7,000 miles and continue to drive their car and they have eclipsed the 8,000 mile mark before this information was ever released. I happen to be one of them, but I'm not that concerned. And I'll tell you why later. Now, I tell everybody that I've met and people that have been having this conversation with me for the last 2 years that if you buy a C8 Corvette of any kind, meaning a C8 Stingray, E-Ray, Z06, and soon to be ZR1, your goal, and I say that again, your goal should be to drive this car 3,700 miles the first year and make sure you have at least 7,000 miles on it by the 23rd month so you can work on getting your car serviced with the free service provided by GM. If you haven't reached those miles, this is what I want to say to you. I don't think you have anything to be concerned about. And people are saying why. And let me just break it down for you. If you have crossed the 24-month mark and you haven't reached 7,000 miles, I don't think your driving habits all of a sudden are going to change. That means typically you are driving less than, let's just say, 3,000 miles a year. If you continue that process, by the end of year 3, you will be at 9,000 miles. Right around there, right? Stay with me. If the transmission on a car fails within 8,000 miles, regardless of where you're at as far as time goes, there's no harm, no foul, because they said get it serviced up to 8,000 miles. So I wouldn't sweat too much over that. But like I said, your driving habits haven't changed. So if the transmission goes out, let's say around 10,000 miles, depending on how you drive in the car, we're using 3,000 miles for an example, around the 10,000 mile mark, you should be closing in 4 years into this car. So if the transmission fails somewhere around 10,000 miles, stay with me, people, you are looking at a car that literally got serviced somewhere around 4,000 miles or under 4,000 miles, and with the servicing it failed. Mind you, you're about 4 years into this car. So that's a bad look for GM if they don't repair the car, because you have maintained the car based off the servicing manual and the allotted time that has went past. Now let's flip that around. If you get past the 10,000 mile mark, or maybe to the 11,000 mark, based on your driving habits, you should be servicing the transmission again anyway based off the servicing manual and the allotted time that has went past. So if you look at it from that perspective, once you service this car the second time around, and I say the second time around, if the transmission fails, regardless of the fact that you didn't service it at 8,000 miles or between 7,000 and 8,000 miles, you now have a car that is barely driven and has been serviced twice per the initial service manual that is issued with the car. So if you now have a car that you're not driving and you have serviced it twice and you still have a transmission failure, you have done the preventive maintenance that has been requested or recommended by Chevy. So if they don't fix your transmission now, that really looks bad on the company. Let that sink in. Let's take a quick break, and do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, help me reach my goal of 25 before 25, which is 2,500 subscribers before the year 2025. We're chasing the movement, be part of it, join the channel, especially if you like the content you've seen so far. We have more stuff like this coming your way, and you too can help guide the focus of the content that comes your way. So subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Let's get past the images right now. Let's talk about actual facts. So at Corvettes in Carlisle, they bring out several engineers every year to talk about the Corvette C8. And one of the conversations I brought up maybe 2 years ago in my attendance at Corvettes in Carlisle with 2 different engineers was my concern about the transmission and basically what was taking place, because it was a hot topic then with transmissions failing. What I was told back then was GM is not looking to punish people for not driving their cars. They were working on extending that 1 year free maintenance service with your trans filter and oil change to 2 years. Secondly, these cars are technologically advanced, meaning that after driving the car for so long, the car adjusts to your normal driving habits, and the car only does that by storing information on the computer. So they can tell if you've been beaten on the car or so forth. Think about that. A lot of you never thought about that. They're not looking to punish people for babying their cars. They've even come out and admit they've warranted some cars that really shouldn't be warranted, because like I said, their goal isn't to punish people for not driving their car, because they know most Corvette owners, it's more than just driving the car to its limits. It's a prestige, it's a brotherhood. So they don't want to break up that community of people who buy Corvettes just to be part of the brotherhood and attend the Corvette events throughout the year. A lot of these owners, a lot of these true Corvette enthusiasts barely put 2,000-3,000 miles on their car, and they understand this. One of the engineers stressed to me that their purpose is not to penalize Corvette owners. They know a lot of their true Corvette purists and owners, they will never see the mileage interval for the second filter replacement before their warranty is over. So the purpose isn't to punish the drivers that aren't driving their cars. What they were trying to do, or what their intent is to do, is to inform more Corvette owners, the new owners to the brand, how important servicing these vehicles are. And if you're actually looking for supercar level performance, you have to do certain maintenance to maintain that performance. And that's the key point that I feel the engineers was trying to get across with the conversation they were having with me. So I'm sharing that with you. Their biggest concern is they just want to be able to monitor the progression of the transmission, and that's why they request that the car gets serviced somewhere between 7,000 to 8,000 miles. They prefer 7,500, but that way they can tell if there's signs of anything that should be a problem with your transmission going forward. Now remember, GM did make this Corvette so the actual Corvette enthusiasts, people that like to get their hands dirty, can work on the car. And just like many, I've serviced my trans filter the second time around on my own. So how does that work out if you do your own servicing and it's not done by GM? Can they keep track of it? I guess that's a good question we need further information on. But like I said to you before, I'm not concerned about it because at least at this point in time, I feel like my car will be out of the factory warranty, even for the powertrain, within the next 8 months. And we're going into the non-driving season. So if something happens with my transmission at this point anyway, I feel like it's going to fall onto my extended warranty. And I guess we'll have to cross that bridge if it ever happens. And just like that, many of you Corvette owners who drive your cars as minimum as possible, you're probably never going to see an issue with your transmission before your warranty is over anyway, because you're barely driving the car, but yet you are doing the preventive maintenance, and that's one of the big parts that GM is trying to get across, at least in my opinion. Now, I'm saying all this to you because speaking directly with the engineers, I think the biggest uproar in the community is the fact that they're looking at an additional $500 to $1,000 charge depending on what their local dealer charges to replace the trans filter, and many of them see that as a item they would have to get done within less than 6 months from getting the service performed for free by Chevrolet. So again, I say make sure you get to at least 7,000 miles. They have warranted some cars that they knew the people didn't follow the correct break-in procedures, or they were driving more hard than they should have during a certain timeline and the car broke. But they don't want to leave a bad taste in their customer's mouth. This whole purpose of this letter being sent out, in my opinion, is to remind you that the service intervals are important and that you should service your car around these timelines. It's also to let those people know, because they are out there, the people that drive the car hard and beat on it and don't do the bare minimum service requirements, that if this is what you're doing, they're not going to warranty your car. Again, that's my opinion. But tell me if I'm wrong. And I'm not talking to everybody in the community. I'm talking to the engineers, GM, Chevy. Reach out to me, correct me, because my purpose here is not to put out false information or misinform your Corvette customers. I'm just trying to let them know, based off my experience and my encounters with the Chevrolet team, that customers are their top priority, and in no way, shape, or form are they looking for ways to weasel out the warranties that was offered with the car. So like I said, reach out to me. I've had one engineer stop me when I was at Corvettes in Carlisle and I had less than 800 subscribers and tell me he saw one of my videos and he thought I was doing some nice work. And he also asked me, who was my contact, and I had to laugh at that. But in the end, I hope this information helps you guys and it puts a lot of you guys at ease. If I get any more information or some insider info on you, I would definitely share it with you. But as always, ICNV Driver's Edition. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the ICNV Driver's Edition community. Like I said before, we are a community of car enthusiasts that like to drive cars that turn heads and not the normal people movers that everybody likes to drive. Also, we are an interactive community, which means if you reach out to me on any one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I will do my best to respond. And if the topic you bring up is interesting enough, just like this one, I may shoot a video on it. Remember, we were all designed in His image and given dominion over the world. So that means we weren't just meant to be. So chase your dreams, build your visions, never give up, and embrace your own identity. It is okay to be unique. He's not done with you. He's definitely not done with me. So stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you in these streets. And keep driving and loving those Corvettes. Peace.